Let me guess. You've had that moment where you check your bank account, and instead of feeling secure, you feel nervous. You start scrolling through your transactions like, wait, who's stealing my money? And then you realize, oh, it's me. I'm the thief. And rent's due next week. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. In fact, the majority of people are quietly trapped in this cycle where money comes in and almost instantly, it's gone. Paycheck lands, bills hit, a few swipes here, a coffee there, and suddenly you're counting down the days until the next one, praying nothing unexpected happens. Because if it does, you're sunk. It's exhausting, it's stressful, and it's no way to live. But here's the good news. Escaping this cycle is not just possible, it's actually simpler than you think. Not easy, but simple. And once you break out, you'll never look at money the same way again. So today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to stop living paycheck to paycheck. For good. Not with some boring budget spreadsheet you'll abandon in 2 weeks, and not with advice that assumes you can magically earn double your salary overnight. This is real talk, the kind of conversation a friend would have with you over coffee, only, without the overpriced coffee bill at the end. Now, the first thing I want you to know is this. Living paycheck to paycheck is not always about how much you earn. Yes, income matters. Of course it does. But I've met people making $30K a year who have more peace of mind than people making $300K a year. How? Because money problems are just as much about habits as they are about numbers. If your spending grows with your income, you'll stay stuck no matter how much you make. It's like running on a treadmill. You can sprint as fast as you want, but if you don't change direction, you're not getting anywhere. And I know what you might be thinking. Well, sure, but if I made more, this would be easier. And you're right, extra income can help, but here's the hard truth. Most people don't have an earning problem. They have a keeping problem. If you can't manage $1,000 well, you won't magically manage $10,000 well. The habits you build now are the same habits you'll carry when you have more. So let's start with the first mental shift. Stop thinking of your money as something you get and spend. Start thinking of it as something you own and control. That little change in mindset is powerful, because if you're not in control of your money, someone else is. And trust me, every company you interact with wants to be in control of it. Here's a little experiment for you. Next payday, before you pay a single bill or buy a single thing, I want you to move something, even if it's $10, into a separate account you don't touch. That money is not for emergencies, not for bills, not for uh-oh moments. It's yours, untouchable. You're training your brain to see yourself as the first priority. This is called paying yourself first, and it's the foundation for breaking the paycheck to paycheck cycle. I can already hear the objections, but I don't have any extra to save. I get it. I really do. But here's what I learned the hard way. If you wait until you feel like you have extra to save, you never will. Life will always find a way to fill that gap. You have to start with what you've got, not with some perfect version of your life that doesn't exist yet.
Now, let's talk about the second trap that keeps people stuck. Invisible spending. You know how when you're scrolling through your phone, you don't even remember unlocking it? Spending can be like that. Subscriptions you forgot about. That delivery fee you pretend doesn't count because, well, it's just $4. The $15 lunch because you didn't pack anything. None of these seem like a big deal, but together, they're like tiny leaks in a bucket. And here's the thing. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, even small leaks can sink the whole ship. So for the next month, I want you to track, not judge, not shame yourself, just track every dollar. Write it down or use an app, whatever's easiest. But every time you spend, record it. You'll start to notice patterns, and once you see them, you can't unsay them. It's not about feeling guilty, it's about feeling aware. Here's where it gets interesting. When you become aware of your spending, you start to realize you can free up money without feeling like you're depriving yourself. I'm not talking about cutting out everything fun and living on instant noodles. I'm talking about trimming the things you don't actually care about so you can keep the things you go. For example, I used to spend almost $200 a month on random takeout. Not because I loved it that much, but because I was too lazy to plan dinner. Once I realized this, I swapped half of those takeouts for quick, cheap meals I could throw together in 15 minutes. I still ate out sometimes, but I freed up $100 a month without even feeling it. That $100 went straight into my Pay Myself First account. And here's the magic. When you start seeing even a small cushion in your bank account, your brain starts to relax. You're no longer living in constant survival mode. You stop making desperate money decisions, like swiping your card for something you can't really afford just because it's payday and you feel like you deserve it. Now, let's get to the part that changes everything. The gap. The gap is the difference between what you earn and what you spend. That gap is your freedom. The bigger it gets, the more choices you have. And when you're stuck in paycheck-to-paycheck mode, your gap is basically zero or worse. There are only two ways to grow your gap: spend less or earn more. And the truth is, you need both. Cutting expenses alone can only go so far. At some point, you hit a limit. You can't shrink your life into wealth. You have to increase your income too. But here's the key. When you start earning more, you can't let your expenses grow right alongside it. That's lifestyle creep, and it's the reason even high earners stay broke. I know people who got $10,000 raises and ended the year with the exact same amount in their bank account as before because the moment the raise hit, they upgraded their apartment, their car, their vacations. The gap didn't grow, they just bought shinier problems. So, here's my challenge to you. If you get any extra income, side hustle money, overtime, or raise, pretend you never got it. Funnel it straight into savings or debt payoff. Your lifestyle stays the same, but your gap grows, and that gap is your ticket out.
The beautiful thing is, once your gap grows, everything else gets easier. Emergencies stop feeling like disasters. You can actually plan ahead instead of reacting to every bill like it's a surprise attack. And eventually, you're not just surviving, you're building, you're investing, you're free. Here's something I wish someone had told me sooner. Breaking the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle isn't about being perfect with money. You're going to mess up. You're going to have months where you overspend or a random bill wipes out your cushion. That's normal. The point isn't to never fall. It's to make sure you can get back up without starting from zero every time. Think of it like learning to swim. At first, every wave feels like it's going to pull you under. But once you've got a little space to breathe, a financial float, you can handle the waves. You might still get splashed, but you're not drowning anymore. And listen, if you've been stuck in this cycle for years, I know it feels heavy. You might even feel like you failed somehow, like you should have figured this out by now. But that's just the story society tells us. The reality? Most people were never taught how to manage money in a way that actually works for real life. We were taught how to earn it and spend it, not how to keep it, grow it, and use it to build the life we actually want. So if no one's told you yet, let me say it. You're not behind. You're not broken. And it's not too late. The fact that you're even here listening to this means you've already taken the first step. You're waking up. You're starting to see that there's a better way to handle money than just working forever and hoping things magically get easier. And from here, it's all about small, consistent changes. Not some big, dramatic, overnight transformation. Not some crash budget you hate so much you give up after a week. Just steady, doable shifts that stack up over time. Because here's the secret. Money is less about math and more about momentum. Once you start building even the tiniest bit of breathing room, it creates a snowball effect. That breathing room turns into savings. Savings turn into investments. Investments turn into choices. And choices, that real freedom. Now, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds good in theory, but what about the big stuff? The debt that's eating up half your paycheck, the rent that keeps going up, the expenses you can't just cut? That's the part that feels impossible, right? Here's the thing. You can't change all of it overnight, but you can start turning the tide. And it usually starts with one decision: to stop letting your money happen to you and start making your money happen for you.
Let's talk about that first, because for a lot of people, this is the quicksand. You're working hard, but it feels like you're not moving forward because every time you make progress, interest drags you back down. I've been there. It's like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. You can't just keep pouring. You have to patch the hole.
The way I like to think about it is this. While you're building your gap and growing that little cushion, you also start targeting your debt like it's your worst enemy. Not all at once, pick one and go for it. Some people like to pay off the smallest balance first for quick wins. Others go for the one with the highest interest rate to save money. Either way, every dollar you free up from a debt payment is another dollar you can keep for yourself. I had a friend, Maya, who was buried in credit card debt. She was making the minimum payments, which kept her account technically okay, but she wasn't getting anywhere. So she did two things. She picked one card, threw every spare dollar at it while keeping the others on minimum, and she stopped adding to the balances by switching to a debit card for daily spending. 6 months later, that first card was gone. The payment she'd been making on it, she rolled that into the next one. 1 year later, she'd cleared them all. Same job, same income, but she gave herself a raise just by getting out from under interest. Now, the other big thing that keeps people stuck is housing. Rent or a mortgage can swallow so much of your income that you barely have room to breathe. And yes, moving or downsizing can feel extreme, but sometimes that's the move that changes everything. I've seen people slash hundreds off their monthly expenses by moving a little further out, getting a roommate for a while, or even just renegotiating their lease. I know, it's not so cool. Nobody dreams about moving into a smaller apartment or splitting a kitchen with someone else. But here's the question. Is it worth being a little less comfortable for a year or two if it means you never have to panic over bills again? Sometimes a temporary sacrifice is the shortcut to long-term freedom. And while we're on the subject of income, it's time to flip how you think about earning money. A lot of people get stuck because they see their paycheck as the only source of income they'll ever have. But in the world we live in right now, there's so many ways to add extra streams. I'm not saying you need to start the next big startup or work yourself to death with 3 jobs, but if you can pick up something flexible, a freelance gig or weekend shifts, selling something you make or know, those little bits add up. One guy I know started dog sitting on weekends. It wasn't much, an extra $150 here, $200 there, but he didn't spend it. He treated it like it didn't exist and threw it at his emergency fund. Within 6 months, he had $2,000 saved. That cushion meant when his car broke down, he paid cash instead of taking on more debt. That's how you win, one small, intentional step at a time. But here's the part most people overlook. None of this sticks unless you have a system. You can hustle, save, and cut costs, but if your money is all mixed in one account and you're constantly guessing what's safe to spend, you'll slip right back into the cycle. You need a system that works even when you're busy, tired, or distracted. Mine's something. On payday, my money moves before I even touch it. A set amount goes into savings, another goes toward debt, and the rest stays for bills and living. I've set it up so it happens automatically, like brushing my teeth. It's just what happens. And because it's automatic, I don't have to be good with money every day. The system does it for me. And I want to pause here and say something important. This is not about living some sad, bare-bones life where you never have fun. It's about creating space so you can have fun without the guilt or the panic. When you're not stuck in the paycheck cycle, you can go out to dinner and actually enjoy it instead of mentally calculating if you'll still have enough for the electric bill. One of my favorite feelings in the world is when you realize you can pay for something you want without worrying if it's going to screw you over later. That's real freedom. That's the point. So where do you start if this all feels overwhelming? Start small. Pick one thing to change this week. Maybe it's setting up a separate account and putting $20 in it. Maybe it's canceling a subscription you forgot about. Maybe it's bringing lunch to work twice instead of buying it. Don't underestimate those small moves. They build the habit muscle. And once that muscle is strong, the big moves get easier. Because the truth is, money doesn't care if you make changes in big leaps or small steps. It just responds to what you do consistently. Every dollar you keep is a little brick in the wall between you and financial stress. And eventually, that wall is so strong that no single bad week or unexpected bill can knock it down. If you've been living paycheck to paycheck for years, this is your sign that it's time to rewrite the story. Not someday, not when things calm down, now. Because the longer you wait, the deeper the habits set in. And breaking free isn't just about money, it's about what that money allows you to do. It's being able to sleep at night without running numbers in your head. It's being able to say yes to opportunities without wondering how you'll afford it. It's walking into the grocery store and buying the good coffee instead of the cheapest one because you can. And listen, you don't need to be a finance expert to pull this off. You don't need a six-figure income or some perfect Instagram-worthy life. You just need to start and keep starting every time you get knocked off track. That's it. One day, you'll wake up and realize you're not counting the days until payday anymore. You're not bracing yourself every time your phone buzzes, worried it's another bill you forgot about. You're just living. And that's when you'll know you didn't just stop living paycheck to paycheck. You stopped letting money control your life. And that, my friend, is when you're truly free. And the funny thing is, when you finally break out of the paycheck to paycheck loop, you look back and realize it was never about some secret formula or crazy complicated plan. It was always about taking control, one small choice at a time. You don't have to become a totally different person overnight. You just have to become the kind of person who moves in the direction of freedom, even if it's a few steps at a time.
Think about it. If you start today and you just keep showing up for yourself in these little ways, where will you be in 6 months, a year? You could have a cushion that protects you. You could be free from that one debt that's been hanging over your head. You could be living without that constant hum of money stress in the back of your mind. And here's what I've noticed. Once you get a taste of that breathing room, you'll fight to keep it. You won't want to go back. You'll see your money differently. You'll stop making decisions based on what can I get away with this month and start asking what's going to make life easier for future me. And future you, they're going to be so grateful you started now. Because every time you pay yourself first, every time you choose to keep your lifestyle the same when your income goes up, every time you say no to something you don't actually care about, so you can say yes to something you do, you're building a life where money supports you instead of stressing you out. It's not about being rich for the sake of it. It's about buying your time back, buying your choices back, and knowing that the next time life throws something at you, and it will, you can handle it without falling apart. So if you've been waiting for the perfect time to start, this is it. You don't need a raise, you don't need a windfall, you don't need to wait until the stars align. You just need to start with what you have right now. $10 saved today is better than $100 saved someday. And look, if you've been watching this thinking, yeah, but my situation is different, I get it. We all have different challenges. But the principles don't change. Spend less than you earn. Make your money move automatically towards your priorities. Grow your gap without letting lifestyle creep eat it up. And keep showing up. You'll be surprised at how quickly the tide turns. One day, the money stress will be gone, and you'll wonder how you ever lived like that for so long. So here's what I want you to do. Don't just close this video and think, that was nice. Take one action before the end of today. Transfer that first bit of money to a separate account. Cancel one thing you don't need. Look at your bank statement and spot one leak you can plug. Just start. Because the sooner you start, the sooner you look back on this moment and realize it was the turning point. The day you decided you were done surviving and ready to start thriving. And when you do, I want to hear about it. Drop your win, big or small, in the comments so we can celebrate with you. And if you're serious about breaking out of the paycheck cycle, watch the video I've linked right here. It's going to show you exactly how to build that emergency fund faster than you think.
You got this, and I can't wait to see where you are a year from now.
See you in the next video.